But here's the irony that may in the end come back to haunt us. Europe has been unable to unify under the umbrella of American alliances. The enmity of the United States is bringing Europe together better than the alliance was able to do. And as you pointed out, very important, China, Japan, and South Korea, with long histories of animosity and tension, are getting together to cope with this. Wow, we are unifying the whole world. If you want the big picture, in my judgment, after World War II, George Kennan taught us about containment. We're going to contain the Soviet Union. The irony, which the philosopher Hegel would enjoy, we are becoming contained. We are isolating ourselves. The votes in the UN are the United States alone, or the United States and Israel and 2 or 3 other countries. The isolation politically, the isolation now economically. We are the rogue nation for the rest of the world. We may not want it, we may not agree, but it doesn't really matter if that's how they perceive us, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, we are containing ourselves. So, which again,
not in a good way, though.
Again, if the rest of the world were to say, you know, the United States is they're perpetrating genocide in Gaza, they're creating a proxy war in Ukraine, they're pushing us to the brink of nuclear war, they're unhinged, they're pressuring Europe to do things they don't want to do. Like, if they were to go through all this list of how horrible the United States is, 900 military bases, and therefore we want to contain you, I'd be like, they are totally right. So I guess I have to support this.
Well,
this is go Trump. Yes. Yes, Trump. You do it. You do it, big boy.
I bet you'll get a YouTube boost because of that. As Professor Wolff told me on my on the show where I interviewed him, this is like the rest of the world is looking at the US and saying, well, we don't like, yes, the US dollar is still the reserve currency, but the reason that countries are shifting away from it is not because it's easy or not because it like they just felt like it. It's because they keep looking at how the US acts around the world and they're like, we can't trust you. You're so like, you are just this flailing, manic, violent entity. And you one day you throw sanctions on these people, the other day you steal like billions of dollars from Russia. It's like, we can't trust you. We're not going to have our money and we're not going to have dollars as our reserve currency because that's not a good way to take care of our people. So the US, by being this absolute lunatic of a violent empire, is actually pushing the world away from the little power that the US does have, which is in the reserve currency and the petrodollar. And that's going to continue happening, especially with these tariffs, because they once again prove to the economies of the world, you can't trust these people. They're absolutely out of their minds. We need to find stable economic ways of interacting with one another, regardless of what the US is doing, because they're totally out of their minds. So this is
you like the idea, you like what Trump's doing too. We're both thinking this is great.
I do like that now that now somehow the Wall Street Journal is like a leftist rag. I think that's kind of funny.
I mean, like, I don't know if it counts as right wing, but Trump has just become so unhinged that even the right wingers that loved him, at least the ones in media and shit, were like, we don't know what the hell's going on. Like,
well, and that's the thing that is really interesting that I'm kind of like wondering how
even
this
the
plays
Penguins
out.
have turned on him.
I don't think they were his friends, because Wall Street is what keeps this whole place going, right? Like, Wall Street is what dictates, we have an oligarchy. So I'm very curious to see how this plays out in terms of what point is somebody going to stop Trump, because, presidents have had to play nice with Wall Street. And if he doesn't, I don't.
Play nice was a nice way to say have their hands deep up their ass, but deep up the president's ass. But the estimation of what Trump's tax cuts are going to cost the American people. And again, I understand that technically the U.S. can print as much money as we want, but the truth is the way they're going to deal with it is when they make these tax cuts, they then find ways to steal money, steal entitlements, steal things from the American people through austerity. And so these tax cuts do end up harming the American people. It's not like they actually just print the money and say, see you later. Anyway, the now projected cost of the Trump GOP tax cuts for the rich is $7 trillion. A new analysis indicates Republicans plan to extend soon to expire provisions of the party's 2017 tax law, which Trump got through Congress back then, giant giveaway to the rich, would cost $7 trillion. The analysis from the nonpartisan Joint Committee on Taxation, published on Thursday, updates previous estimates that it was only going to cost $5 trillion over a 10-year period, but they've now added more costs because they're with the extension of this, and it was advanced in a party line vote. So yeah, trillions of dollars of tax cuts to the richest people in the country that will ultimately just come back to harm your average Americans. There'll be cuts in everything, which is of course what they're doing with Doge, is let's try and cut everything and just give all the money to the rich. And